Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome out. We are at Lady Luck Tattoo Expo. I have a special guest with me today, Jay Brown from the Northwest Tattoo Museum. We're going to get into not only the museum, but we're going to get into Jay's tattooing career and the family that he's a part of, legendary family. Let's start with your tattoo career.
Right.
How long have you been tattooing for?
This year is 39 years. I started in 1986. Got thrown under the bus, kind of apprenticeship, and then have just been going ever since. Sometimes you learn under one guy, and then you get somebody who's truly your mentor, and you wind up like almost getting your master's degree, as it were. So that's where the connection with RJ Rosini kind of comes in. He was a mentor and then an adopted father.
The Rosini family, longtime tattooers.
Yes. RJ was in Denver, Colorado.
All right.
And then he made it as far out east as Kansas City. So he worked with Wes Grimm out there in Kansas City for a while. But Denver was his main place. And then he had a shop in Kalispell, Montana for a little while. And then after he left Missouri full-time, just said, I'm done there. He went to Bozeman, Montana, and that's where he spent his, up until his final days, was there in Bozeman.
So how long do you think he was tattooing for?
He got his Bob Shaw Award in 2000, and he passed in 2003, so that would have been 43 years.
Wow. Okay. They have the Rossini Award.
Yes.
We saw given today, or yesterday rather, to Baba. How did that award come about?
Well, so there's kind of a wild story about that. We were at a tattoo convention called the Ink Travelers Tattoo Convention. It was in Vancouver, Washington, and great show right on the Columbia River, just beautiful place. RJ had come out one year to work, and so it was the second day, it would have been Saturday, and he tattooed, and he finished with his tattoo, and he said, as soon as you're done tattooing, come get me, and we'll go have some drinks and, party for the night. And when I got done tattooing, the guy who was sharing a room with him came running into the bar because I was ordering some food and said, your dad is down, the ambulance is there. So he wound up passing away that same day. But he tattooed to the day he died at a tattoo convention, and those were two things that he loved, as well as his big claim to fame. One of his big things was Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. He has the oldest tattoo company out there in Sturgis, and it's still there to this day. So it's been carried on. One of his dying wishes was to have his name at convention and have his name at Sturgis on Main Street for forever. So who knows? Hopefully that'll wind up being the case. So, but. The next day after he had passed away, it was kind of a wild thing because a lot of the booths shut down in memorial to him, and they filled our booth, which was 3 booths long, and they filled the whole front of the booth with flowers, and then we had a little ceremony and all that, and then all the tattooers took the flowers and threw them into the Columbia River after the deal. Well, they made up the RJ Rosini Award there, given to a person or a group who's made a significant contribution to and for the tattoo community. And they gave me the first one and said, it's your job to pick who all gets those awards. So we've had quite a list over the years. Lyle Tuttle, Bert Rodriguez, the Alliance of Professional Tattooists, the National Tattoo Association, Henry Goldfield, Mary Jane Hackey, Vivine Lazonga, Aaron Bell, Philadelphia Eddie, Good Time Charlie Cartwright.
Man,
the list is
legendary.
Yeah, I forgot to write it all down, but just some real legendary folks. Tim, who puts on the show here, received his a couple of years ago.
Okay.
For meeting of the marked and doing these West Coast shows. He definitely has done something to and for the tattoo community. So
he's got 3 of the biggest tattoo conventions out there.
Yeah, he's got some nice, and they're all nice. They're like the old days almost. It's almost like stepping back in time.
You've contributed with tattooing Sturgis, the Rossini Award, and then on top of that, you have the Northwest Tattoo Museum.
Yes.
How did that come about?
I have collector's disease, as Lyle Tuttle called it. And so I would just keep little bits of everything from everywhere I tattooed, conventions, different things that people gave me, machines that I bought. And I started packing it up in just boxes and bags and all this other stuff. And my wife said to me, why do you drag all this shit around with you? You know, why don't you just pitch some of this? Why don't you get it? And I said, well, someday it's going to be worth some money. I'm not going to get rid of it. It's, you know, it's got sentimental value and all that. Well, it got to the point where I felt like it was a disservice to the tattoo community to not have it out there to show. So slowly but surely, I started bringing things out and putting the museum together. And we started in 2010. I had a tattoo shop in Moscow, Idaho, which is where the University of Idaho is, and then 9 miles from there is Washington State University. So it's college town, you know, USA. And I really thought that the university kids, I really thought would dig the museum thing. And I come to find out they just wanted to get tattooed. Not many of them were too interested. So after a couple of years of getting things built up and whatnot, we moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is about 125 miles north. The first location that we had, I call the vault all the time, because it was a little tiny 475 square foot place, floor to ceiling and across the ceiling, and every nook and cranny. And then I still had, you know, crates of stuff sitting in the back room. And so in 2020, the landlord doubled the rent on me. I said, can I think about it? And he said, well, we need to know by Friday. And I said, okay, I'll make sure to give you an answer by Friday. And I called him on Monday and I said, we'll be out on the 1st. My mom's realtor, my mom hooked her up with me, and then she went and tracked down potential buildings. And so she found the location that we're in now.
Okay.
And it's now 1,600 square feet, and it's got a 3-station tattoo shop built inside of it that's actually a freestanding structure, so it is a little tattoo shop. We were going to enclose it a little more than it is, but we wanted the communication to happen. And it's a 360, you know, there's stuff everywhere, display cases, flash.
So let's get into some of the collection, because I'll put some pictures that I took here. They're not the best pictures because of the lighting in here, but you have some really old pictures of like Betty Broadband, you know, people of that era. You also have Burt Grimm Flash.
Yes.
You know, some machines that are here.
Oh, yeah. Charlie Wagner.
Percy Waters. So,
Owen Jensen.
How did you acquire some of this stuff?
Well, most of it out of my own pocket. I'd say pretty much, 80% of the 75, 80% of what's in the museum I wound up acquiring just out of my own pocket. And then we've had some donations. You know, we've had some people who have donated some stuff. Last year here at Lady Luck, Bert Rodriguez brought me a nice big box full of flash and then just different memorabilia of his, which is really cool. So he's got a little display now on the wall. And then when Rand Johnson died, his wife Kay sent me 12 tattoo machines that were his to put with our exhibit. And years before that, Kay and Rand were on a vacation and they were coming through the area, and Judy Parker happened to be doing a guest spot because she comes every summer and does a guest spot after Sturgis at my place. And so Judy was doing a guest spot, and so Rand wanted to see the museum, but he also was like, we get to see Judy too. So Rand walks in the door and he had an envelope and a tattoo machine. And so he hands me the tattoo machine and I'm like, oh, wow, cool. And he's like, yeah, it's a Ron Akers machine. And I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. And I'm checking it because I love tattoo machines. And I handed it back to him and he goes, no, that's yours. And I was like, wow, really? I mean, fucking A, thank you. That's, you know, awesome. Yeah. And he said, oh, yeah, when every time Ron would buy a set of flash from me, he'd send me 2 or 3 tattoo machines. He goes, I got a bunch of them. Do you want them? And I was like, no, one's fine, you know. So then he goes to the envelope and he hands me this envelope, and on the flap on the envelope it says Cherry Creek Set 1 Masters copies on it. And so I was like, holy shit, you know, I mean, this is like, talk about, you know, treasure, you know,
legendary
legendary flash. I mean, so many tattoo artists have made so much money on that. I mean, there's so many people that owe
Millions. Millions.
Oh, insane. So I get it, I put it on the table, and I'm starting to look through it, and you can see all the white out spots, and if you held it up to the light, you could see the shine of the colored pencil and everything. And so I put everything back in the envelope, and I handed it to Rand, and he said, no, that's for you. That's for the museum's archives.
That's awesome.
So I can't display all of the sheets. I have one on display, and then the rest are in the archive. But that was like the neatest thing in the world, because I made so much money off of that first set in Sturgis going to the rally, tattooing at the rally.
Tons of artists out there that owe their career to those sheets.
Yeah, him, Judy Parker. I think she gets overlooked a lot for what being one of those people that kind of changed the face of tattooing in the 90s, but I mean, her flash changed things, made more realism,
Yeah, I mean, I follow her on Instagram.
She did beautiful work. She's a Renaissance artist. The other person that I think that really kind of did a thing for the change and kind of change of the face of tattooing was JD Crow and the tattoo brand Flash, and then all the people that were involved with that, Lin Yao and Kevin Brady, and there was a good handful of different people that worked with JD on those sets. And what he put out 1,000 and some odd sheets of full color Flash with line drawings.
Made a fortune.
And so that kind of changed things, because all his designs were somewhat traditional designs, but they were stylized and very tattooable.
80% of it out of pocket, other 20%, donated by people that know that you're doing a good thing.
Right, because I don't sell anything, and
if anybody wanted to come out and visit, you open 7 days a week?
Yes, we're open 7 days a week. I'm there usually Tuesday through Saturday. I get there at like noon, and I'm usually 7 or 8 o'clock. And I love it when tattooers or tattooed people come by and able to walk around and actually share the exhibits, tell them a little more about this, tell them a little more about that, and just kind of walk them through. But we also have a narratives out.
Okay.
So you can actually kind of self-guide tour.
I mean, you did that here. What do you for some of the machines, you had a little explanation, and then it was helpful for me, because some of the stuff I didn't recognize or whatever. But that's awesome, man. It's 7 days a week. And what's the location?
We're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, 2934 Government Way, which is one of the main thoroughfares there. I'd like it to be our final destination, but as the collection grows, you never know.
Right.
And now there's somebody next door to us, so there's no knocking down the wall.
What's the Instagram for the museum?
The Instagram for the museum is Northwest_tattoo_museum.
Right on. So if you want to check it out, there's some amazing stuff on the Instagram page.
Facebook is the same. Northwest Tattoo Museum. And then there's some stuff on our website as well, which is northwesttattoomuseum.com.
Right on, man.
So, and I like that because I'm able to share with the tattoo community that don't get a chance to come in. Because a lot of people say, man, I got to get up there. So, and they don't get a chance, so at least they can see it, follow us on Facebook and all that. But I think this year I kind of threw the idea out there of doing just little videos, little snippets, where I take a machine and say, this is a Charlie Wagner machine, and a little snippet about Charlie Wagner, and this is on display at the museum, kind of thing, and then post those up a couple of times a week or once a week or whatever.
I'd love to see that, man. I look forward to that.
When I did that, there were several people from over in Europe and whatnot that said, please do, because we won't be able to get over there.
Right.
And we'd really like to know more and see more of it and all that. So I thought, well, that's a perfect idea.
You and I had some amazing conversations at breakfast, and we were just chopping it up about different history things and stuff like that. And it was really cool to sit down and talk to you and go back and forth about the history.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, it
pretty
was
much all weekend, actually.
Yeah, we have.
I know,
you got a lot of history, and that I don't know, and vice versa. So
right.
It's been great being next to each other this weekend, because I think it's kind of enriched our knowledge a little bit, and
I definitely learned a lot from you this weekend, man, which is amazing. So if you guys get a chance, make sure you check out the Instagram page, Facebook, and hell, if you can get out there, go check out the actual museum.
I always tell people, tattoo artists and tattoo fans, if you want to come to the museum and get a tour, you just have to let me know in advance, and I even tell them, if a tattoo artist comes in on my day off or whatever, you better call me so I can come down and talk to the person that's that's there. So because tattoo artists really dig it, tattoo artists really. And more, which is cool, because it seemed like for a while nobody gave a shit about the history.
I'm doing my best, man.
Yeah, really you definitely are. You definitely are, and it's great because you're getting it out there to the masses, and that's what needs to happen, because where we came from is very important. Whose shoulders we stand on is very important, and so with people having kind of maybe a resurgence of the interest in tattoo history, it seems like it's starting to maybe even snowball a little bit with the younger generation.
I hope so.
And I've met a lot of younger tattooers, and not necessarily in age, but in years of tattooing, that are just enamored by it. They're just like, I really dig tattoo history. It makes me feel so good when I hear that. I'm just like, and if just one person says that to me at a tattoo convention, it makes the whole damn thing worth it.
I think that, as time goes, if you're tattooing, I think at some point, maybe you're not into history right now, but eventually, if you stay with it, you're gonna dip into it.
Yeah.
There's no way you can't.
Yeah, it's all around. Yeah.
Those are the people I'm trying to reach right now. So hopefully, we'll get there.
It's good that you are too, because my generation of tattooers we're the old guys now, and the legends are
slowly going
passing away, and it's really cool that you're getting interviews with them, because it's the oral history is very, very important to tattooing, because a lot of it's not written down.
And a good portion of the first, couple hundred years are just that. I
few people wrote
at times getting information just to do, certain episodes.
Oh yeah, it's stuff you got to dig deep.
Definitely dig
deep. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about all the research and all the different avenues that you can go to research stuff, and you can spend days on it. Yeah. But I feel like it's a challenge, and not in a bad way, but it's like, ooh, I get to learn something new about somebody.
Treasure hunt.
Yeah. Treasure hunt. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I put it. It's, if I'm trying to find a particular thing and I dig, and then I get it, it's like, man, it's like gold. He has a book out that is pretty amazing. Captured on film. It's the Coble photos from the Northeast Tattoo Museum.
Northwest.
Northwest.
No, Northeast. There's somebody else up there.
Yeah. But there's tons of amazing pictures. And like I said, there's some of them are here today. I took pictures of them. Maybe I'll pull some out of here as well.
Right.
Just to give you guys a quick glimpse. And if they wanted to buy this off you,
it's on our website. It's available on the website. So now it is. The hardbacks are limited edition. I only did 100 of them, and I'm not doing any more of those hardbacks. And I think we're down to the last 30 some odd copies. And then I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do 100 softback issues of it, and then I'll be done. I like to do things in collectible amounts. You know what I mean?
He was nice enough to sign it for me, which is even better.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, you help keep this history thing alive, and it's important.
Man.
It's very important, because we don't want to lose it.
Yeah,
sure. And we are losing some of it, because the smartest guy out there, when it came down to the history thing, or putting their history down, or for that matter, a lot of history down, was Philadelphia Eddie.
Yeah.
And he put together 7 books that are just the great. I mean, they're fucking hilarious. And what he did is he he made an outline and he spoke into a microphone, and then he had a ghostwriter, this guy Eric Fimmel, who transcribed everything word for word, and then helped him lay it out. Tons of pictures and
you can
and all
actually
kinds of
catch
stuff.
those on Spotify. Listen to them.
Yeah,
And,
which are great.
You could tell as the episodes kind of go forward, you can tell he's been drinking a little bit.
It's
pretty
couple
funny.
of screwdrivers.
Yeah, so,
But that was a really smart thing, because there's all that history in there, and it's like, it's up there with like the book Mike McCabe did on New York City tattooers and all that.
book,
Yeah, it's a great book, and so I always tell tattooers, if write it down, write a book. Pim did, right?
Yep.
So she wrote her story down, which is great. You're sharing that, those experiences and whatnot, and its history. The other thing I tell people to do is, if you want to be remembered in tattooing, because the digital world can disappear, for some reason Flash endures. And we're seeing a resurgence of that.
highly collectible Flash.
Kids are, I hate to call them kids, but younger tattooers are actually painting again, and they're painting flash sheets, and they're putting them up on the wall in their shops, and putting whole rows of their hand painted original flash like they did in the old days,
Right.
which is really cool, because
It disappeared for a while.
a long time flash was just not a thing, and now people are actually getting it again. Tattooing, I think, is really going in a good direction as far as history and all that
I hope
is
so.
concerned, and
appreciate it,
more
man.
education. Education
Thank
is
you
always
so much,
good,
man.
so.
And if you get a chance, check out Jay's Instagram, Facebook, and hell, if you can get out there, go check out the shop
Yeah,
and the museum. Thanks, man. Much
Yep.
appreciated.
Hey, thank you for all you're doing, because it's
appreciate that.
very important what you're doing, and it's I think it's necessary, and as a tattoo historian, I appreciate you for
Thank you,
doing
brother.
all that,
Much
because
appreciated.
you're sharing with the world, and you're sharing some awesome stuff,
Thanks, man.
and that's just, I love it. I
Awesome.
absolutely love it.
I
So
appreciate it.
um,
Thanks.
thanks for doing that. Thanks for being one of those champions of tattoo history.
Yeah, man.
Tradition. Keeping it alive.
Thanks, man.
So.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you.